It was Franklin Delano Roosevelt who said, "Taxes are paid in the sweat of every man who labors." In this lesson, we're going to construct income tax graphs using compound inequalities. All to answer the question, how can you graph tax schedules? Before we get into it, let's make sure we're ready for this lesson by looking at warm-up number 2. Match the functions f of x is equal to the square root of x, g of x is equal to the absolute value of x, and h of x is equal to x squared with the true statement. X is always greater than or equal to 0. Well, when it comes to f of x, one of the answers is in fact always going to be positive, and one is always going to be negative. When it comes to g of x, that is always going to be giving us a positive answer, and when it comes to having an x squared, that is always making the positive version, so h of x is also an answer. When it comes to it has vertical symmetry, then this means on an up and down line it would look the same on the left and right side. To just consider for a moment the number 4. When x is 4, then its y value can be both a positive and a negative 2, which does not reflect across that line, so it is not f of x. Now when it comes to the absolute value of x, if it was 4, it would create a V shape, which is symmetrical, so we do get g of h. And when it comes to x squared, we would get the parabola, that U shape, and it also has a center line of symmetry, so h of x. Now let's take a look at a problem that you will be able to do by the end of this lesson. Examine the piecewise function f of x composed of the first 3 equations from example 3. Graph the function on the appropriate interval. Now, most graphing calculators have a feature that allow you to graph the parts of the piecewise function only on the given domain. First, enter the 3 component equations of the piecewise function into the calculator as y1, y2, and y3. Define them on the appropriate domains using compound inequalities. So y1 is equal to open parenthesis 0.10x, close parenthesis, open parenthesis, x greater than 0 and x equal 19,400. y2 would be equal to open parenthesis 0.12x minus 388, close parenthesis, open parenthesis, x greater than 19,400 and x less than or equal to 78,950. y3 is equal to open parenthesis 0.22x minus 8283, close parenthesis, open parenthesis, x greater than 78,950 and x less than or equal to 168,400, close parenthesis. Using a window of x min equal 0, comma, x max equals 17,000, y scale 20,000, y minimum equal to 0, y maximum equal to 30,000, and y scale equal to 5,000, the graph is shown. Notice that the 3 line segments do not have the same slope. The circled points on the graph are cusps. The graphs help you understand the progressive tax system. When you pay sales tax, the tax percentage usually remains the same whether you purchase a $13 item or a $13,000 item. Sales tax is a flat tax or a proportional tax. The tax rates typically do not depend on the price of the item you purchase. How does the tax schedule work? Does a person with taxable income of $13,000 pay the same percentage as a person who earns $13 million? There are different percentages on tax schedules. This is a distinct feature of a progressive tax system. In a progressive income tax system, the tax rates increase as the income increases. People with greater income are subject to higher tax rates on part of their income. Look at the first line of the tax schedule shown. It begins with the IRS tax schedule notation for income. Over $0, but not over $9,700. Notice that all taxpayers filing a single pay in a 10% tax on the first $9,700 they earn. If a taxpayer earns $9,701 or $15 million for the year, the tax on the first $9,700 of taxable income earned is the same tax rate of 10%. The next bracket of income of tax is at 12%. Each line of the tax schedule has a different percentage. This percentage is called a tax bracket. You may have heard the expression, I'm in the 35% tax bracket. That means the taxpayer earns an income that is partially taxed at a 35% rate. Keep in mind the first $9,700 of the taxpayer income is still taxed at 10%. There are people who support changing the current progressive tax schedule to a flat tax system to simplify income taxes. In a regressive tax schedule, the tax rate decreases as income increases. The debate between progressive flat and regressive taxes can be a lively one. Which system would you recommend and why? In the lesson on income taxes, you used a tax worksheet and a tax schedule to calculate the tax for married taxpayers filing a joint return. Now you examine how percentages depend on income in income tax schedules. Model taxable income columns in Schedule Y1 using tax schedule notation, interval notation, and compound inequality notation. There are 7 taxable income intervals. If X represents any taxable income, then those intervals can be expressed in a tax schedule notation, interval notation, and compound inequality notations as follows. Over $0, but not over $19,400. This means that X is greater than 0 and X is less than or equal to $19,400. This can also be expressed as 0 is less than X, less than or equal to $19,400. Then we have over $19,400, but not over $78,950. This means that X is less than $19,400 and X is less than or equal to $78,950, which could be expressed as $19,400 is less than X, less than or equal to $78,950. We'll continue all of this through all of them until we get to the last one where some different things go on. In this case, we're looking at everything that is over $612,350. There's no end to it, which simply means that X must be greater than $612,350, which is the same when it comes to that interval notation. X is greater than $612,350. Let's check our understanding of this. Write a tax schedule notation, compound inequality notation, and interval notation that would apply to the income of $172,876.99. This means we're looking at over $168,400, but not over $321,450. This can be expressed as X is greater than $168,400 and X is less than or equal to $321,450, which can be expressed as a compound inequality with $168,400 less than X less than or equal to $321,450. For each interval in a tax schedule beyond the first, the tax is calculated by adding a fixed tax to a percentage of the difference between the taxable income and some number that is stated in the schedule. Let Y represent the tax and X represent the taxable income. The tax schedule for each of the intervals can be expressed algebraically as shown here. If f of x represents the entire tax schedule for married taxpayers filing jointly, then this function can be written as a piecewise function notation. F of x is equal to 0.10x if 0 is less than x, less than or equal to 19,400, and that continues on to the last one where y is equal to $164,709.50 plus 0.37 times the difference of x and $612,350. This is when x is less than $612,350. How does the piecewise function relate to the taxable computation worksheet? Examine the Section B tax computation worksheet for married filing jointly. Although the numbers in column D appear to have no mathematical significance, they can be found by using the distributive property for each of the equations in the piecewise function. Looking at the incomes in the piecewise function before example 2, there are over $168,400 but not over $321,450 in the equation, which is Y is equal to $28,765 plus 0.24 times X minus 168,400, where Y represents the tax and X represents the taxable income. Use the distributive property and combine like terms as follows. We distribute out this 0.24 to get 0.24x minus 40,416. When we combine those like terms, we get y is 0.24x minus 11,651. The final equation in the slope-intercept form of a linear equation. Recall the slope-intercept form of a linear equation is y is equal to mx plus b, where m represents the slope and b represents the y-intercept. The slope of this tax equation is 0.24, and the y-intercept is negative 11,651. Return to the second line of the worksheet. For income that is at least $168,400, but not over $321,450, you are instructed to compute 24% of the taxable income and then subtract 11,651 from it to compute the taxes. Expressing the tax schedule equation in y is equal to mx plus b form illustrates where the number of tax computation worksheets come from. Let's check our understanding. The tax equation for incomes over $321,450 but not over $408,200 is y is equal to 65,497 plus 0.32 times x minus 321,450. Simplify the equation and explain the numerical significance of the slope and the y-intercept. So the first thing we're going to do is distribute that 0.32 into the parentheses. This is going to give us 0.32x minus 102,864. Now we need to combine like terms so we can get 0.32x minus 37,367. The slope is the multiplication amount in the row of the taxable computation worksheet, and the y-intercept of a negative 37,367 is the subtraction amount. Use the distributive property and combine like terms. Each of the equations can be expressed as follows. Y is equal to 0.10x is exactly that. It's in its y is mx plus b form. Y is equal to 1940 plus 0.12 times x minus 19,400. This will give us 1940 plus 0.12x minus 2328. Combining like terms, we're going to get that y is equal to 0.12x minus 388. By continuing this, we have on the next one where we would have y is equal to 0.22x minus 8,283. Then y is equal to 0.24x minus 11,651. Then y is equal to 0.32x minus 37,367, followed by y is equal to 0.35x minus 49,613. And for good measure, we're going to compute this last one long form in case for some reason you forgot. We're going to wind up with $164,709.50 plus 0.37x minus 226,569.5, which will give us that y is equal to 0.37x minus 61860. Now, let's check our understanding of this. Use the appropriate equation that we made in example 3 to determine the tax for the income of $46,000. If we were to look at the second and third equation, the third equation is far beyond what we're looking at at 78,950 in the minus position. So we're going to use the second equation where we get 1940 plus 0.012 times x minus 19,400. This did give us 0.12x minus 388. This means that we would substitute 46,000 into the value of x, multiply that by 0.12 to get 5,520 minus 388. This means that y is $5,132. Now let's construct an income tax graph using compound inequalities. Examine the piecewise function f of x composed of the first three equations from example 3. Graph the function on the appropriate interval. Now, most graphing calculators have a feature that allow you to graph the parts of the piecewise function only on the given domain. First, enter the three component equations of the piecewise function into the calculator as y1, y2, and y3. Define them on the appropriate domains using compound inequalities. So y1 is equal to open parenthesis 0.10x close parenthesis open parenthesis x greater than 0 and x equal 19,400. y2 would be equal to open parenthesis 0.12x minus 388 close parenthesis open parenthesis x greater than 19,400 and x less than or equal to 78,950. y3 is equal to open parenthesis 0.22x minus 8283 close parenthesis open parenthesis x greater than 78,950 and x less than or equal to 168,400 close parenthesis. Using a window of x min equal 0, comma, x max equals 17,000, y scale 20,000, y minimum equal to 0, y maximum equal to 30,000, and y scale equal to 5,000, the graph is shown. Notice that the three line segments do not have the same slope. The circled points on the graph are cusps. The graphs help you understand the progressive tax system. Now let's check our understanding of this. If you were to graph the fourth equation of the piecewise function y is equal to 0.24x minus 11,651, where would you expect the last point of that equation to be? And explain your reasoning. We could expect the last point to be at 321,450, comma, 65,497. The 321,450 is the highest most for that tax bracket, and 65,497 is the tax you would pay on that amount. Let's extend our understanding just a little bit further. What are the monetary implications of the fact that a slope of the last segment of a piecewise function is greater than the slope of the segment preceding it? The more income you make, the higher percentage of tax you'll pay.